Hi guys, and welcome to this week's collective reading. We are going straight into it with our first card being light language. And this is card number 6 and reads universal language of oneness, of love, and listen with your heart. So I love that with this card, we have both a crystal guide that taps into a strong heart connection with raw morganite, as well as this vibrant, strong depiction of the sun energy, and it bringing us all these colors and frequencies as its gift. So really, really perfect with this light language card. And I always like to remind when light language comes up that it is not just a vehicle of speech, as most people consider it. It absolutely can be, right? Of course. But as the language of light, we are talking about any way that Christ consciousness or source consciousness can be communicated to us and through us, and we receive these messages through light codes. So as a frequency, it is not limited to sounds that come out of the mouth, right? This is just a more common way that our light language comes through, as it's how we are used to communicating, but it can also be through movement, dance, art, hand gestures, right? We can share and convey frequency in so many ways, and light language isn't even something that we are always expected to be channels for, right? Light language could come through for you as light codes that bring just you personally healing, upgrades, that send you intuitive messages, right? It can even give you like hits of visions or actual messages that you hear, right? So it's not always about channeling and bringing it to other people. It can just be a message for you, right? The light language could just be for you to receive, right? But this card is here to tell us to be open, right? To this idea of light language and receiving it, right? Go outside and receive the light codes. Although I do think we can receive them inside the house as well. But go outside, because if you're directly under the light, of course it will be easier, right? Under the sun and the moon, actually, because remember the moon is reflecting the sun's light back to us as well. So both send us light codes from the same source, just from different perspectives. So this week, expect light language to come through more potently than normal, let's say, and be open to the many ways it may show up for you. Monday, which is tomorrow, we have a super full moon in the sign of Aquarius. So maybe this is why there is a surge in light language coming through. But irregardless, be open to what comes through this week. Well, always be open to what comes through, right? But this is the guidance for the energy that is currently surrounding us. The crystal spirit that came through today is morganite, which is in the beryl family. I was just having a little chat about beryl with a friend recently. More familiar crystals you may be aware of are emerald, which is a green beryl, and aquamarine, which is a most commonly blue beryl, right? And Morganite is when the beryl shows up with this pink hue, or even like sometimes an orangey hue. And funnily enough, or I think funnily enough, the yellow version of beryl is known as heliodor, which with the root of helio in it, I hear helios, right? Clearly connects strongly to the sun energy. Helios was the sun god, but Helios specifically, or more specifically, I should say, is seen as the great central sun, right? So that would be the solar body that our sun is working through. So Morganite really works here, and I'm going to do my best to explain my chain of thoughts in a way that is understandable, but the energy of Helios, right, or the light language of Helios, needs to be stepped down by our sun for us to be able to receive it, right? Because the frequency of Helios is beyond our ability to understand. Now, when I think of the color pink, pink is red, right, with light added to it. And red is our connection to the earth, right? It resonates with our base chakra, or our root chakra. So we grow our roots with red, right? And just like roots in our body, it's the blood running through our veins, right? And our veins look like roots, don't they? The intricate pathways that they make out in our body. So red is the color that binds, let's say, or connects us to the earth as earthly humans. And lightness being added to the red, right, to raise our consciousness, to pull us back up, would be pink. Right? And it brings in the significance of Jesus's blood hitting the earth during his crucifixion, and the alchemy of that process, which created pathways for us to connect to Christ within, right? Without us having to go through this major sacrifice that Jesus did. So that whole sacrifice on the cross is all about creating these pathways that now exist within us, within our body. When his blood hit the body of Gaia, right, there was an alchemical process that occurred that enabled us to create pathways, or to start being born. Now we have these pathways within us that we can connect directly to Christ consciousness within us. It's not outside of us. Right? And this is something I think of when I think of the color pink. And paired with light language, bringing through the language of oneness and love, this is really connecting to the highest consciousness, the consciousness that connects us all, irregardless of the name we give that consciousness, right? Because we can fight over that. I also want to mention, if you look up the etymology of Morgan, it means circling sea, or sea-born, or sea dweller. And waters have always been connected to creation in many religions. Now, from the actual book, the messaging attached to this card is sensitivity, gentleness, empathy, compassion, the gift of vulnerability, and self-forgiveness. And basically, instead of trying to force things, it speaks to just being open to receive whatever it is that we are meant for, right? But we actually block ourselves when we are trying to force other things, right? It brings us out of alignment. So instead of trying to make yourself fit into specific molds that you just don't fit into, this is about sitting back and giving yourself the love and compassion you need to just be and see who that is. So I really love Morganite with the light language card, and it specifies raw Morganite, not polished, raw. Be exactly who you came out into this world to be. You don't have to polish yourself to fit into a specific setting, right? Because we can take this raw crystal and we can bring it to somebody who can make a specialized, one-of-a-kind piece to hold that crystal, right? It doesn't have to be polished and fit into a mold. Yeah, so definitely if you happen to have some Morganite or can easily acquire some, I would work with it as an alternative, right? Always, I say, if there is a crystal energy that you would like to connect with but don't have, and you really want something physical that you can work with that helps you tap into that energy, clear quartz can always work. And it doesn't have to be a large piece. This just literally happens to be the piece. Actually, no, look, I have one right here. Clear quartz can always work. If you just set the intention into it, right, to connect with the crystal energy you are wanting to work with, right? So you can code it to work with Morganite and ask it to bring through those energies for you. And we are ending with the Prince of Wands, right? And this is such a strong Leo depiction, which I love, as our sun is currently in Leo. So we have the sun in Leo, but tomorrow's full moon is in Aquarius. So we've got the sun in Leo's energy reflecting back down to us from an Aquarius perspective in the full moon. That's really cool to think about. Now in this particular deck, the prince and princesses are in place of the page, just so you know. So we are looking at a young energy here, and wands is the fire. So this card is all about having enthusiasm and passion, right? Because when you're young and you haven't been bogged down by life, you're enthusiastic, passionate, really bringing any creative ideas into practice with this fire energy, right? This is allowing the unfoldment of these ideas to occur so they can actually happen, but in a very natural way. Because remember, with Morganite, we're working in a flow. We're not forcing it. We're just allowing things to unfold as they were always meant to. And he's holding a magic wand, right? And then we've got this rainbow bridge between the spiritual and material. So bringing those two worlds together. So this is starting something new with enthusiasm, right? And at the moment, we are between Lunasa, which was the first harvest, and Mabon, or the autumn equinox, which is understood as the big harvest. So right now, we're sitting in harvest energy. And harvest energy, I always find interesting because it's all about abundance. But it's also, it sounds weird to say that it's about abundance, but it's also very much about death. We use the word like reaping the rewards, right? But reaping is a cutting down or a cutting away, right? What do you use in the harvest season? You use a scythe, and the scythe is the same tool that the Grim Reaper uses, right? So this is like, what are you letting die away so that the beauty within you can shine all the stronger, right? So with harvest, I always think of the abundance being intertwined with what you are willing to let go of, to fall away. And that's so in alignment with this Morganite message. So that's really just a tangent to think about, but it's applying, because this is where we are right now. We're in the harvest season. And this Aquarius full moon, while the sun is in Leo, is happening in the harvest season, right? Now, the Prince of Wands, for this particular reading, for the energy that's currently surrounding us, I am understanding this as be open to the light language that will come through this week. So whatever wild ideas are communicated to you, using this lens of compassion and love for self, right? See yourself as someone who is capable and able to bring through and birth whatever the light language is telling you. And being open to that message will enable you to move forward with enthusiasm and confidence, right? So everything at the moment is in alignment for you to materialize these dreams, right? Bring them across this rainbow bridge down to earth. And that is this week's reading. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will be back next week. Bye, guys.